live stream.
Okay.
Because we know there's millions of people out there that can hardly wait to hear you read, Krishna Chandra.
Well,
Can hardly wait to hear your radio broadcaster's voice.
that's very
it's Krishna Chandra reading the Bhagavad-Gita once again.
It's it's whatever is in the service of Krishna. I'm very happy to do whatever I can.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Okay, so I'm just going to put a label on this on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Facebook right now. And please join us for Bhagavad-Gita 1.3 live now with your favorite radio announcer, Krishna Chandra, featuring.
Wow. That's too much for Boo. I don't know if I get any praise. I don't know what's gonna happen to me.
Okay, maybe I don't want you to get too puffed up, so maybe I'll just leave your name out this time.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, please join us for Bhagavad Gita 1.3 now. And let me just see here, because I didn't make a special effort tonight to invite a bunch of new people, but I'll at least put this up on my page. It'd be nice if it was on your page. Do a few people read your page as well?
Well, I'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, nice if we can put it out there.
Yeah.
It's even nicer when people show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me.
All right. I'll just send that off to a couple of groups. Let's see. Srila Prabhupada's disciples. I'll just put it on my personal page for right now.
So is the Zoom information like in that link on your post?
Yeah, I just duplicate it and I send it out every week. I just repeat it. Maybe I can get let's see, Mira to come right now. Attend the Bhagavad Gita Zoom 7:30. Right. Right.
Actually, your Zoom information is not in the post.
It's not?
I don't see it unless you added it at a later
I just
time.
added it just now.
All right, let me double check.
Should be there now.
All right, let me go on my page and see if that reflects. Yep, you're good. Very good.
I'll send this out to Jai Goranga. He's out in Mexico, I think. Mexico. And let's see who else can I invite here. I can invite Kavi Prabhu from Hawaii. Maybe he will come. And I will invite, who's Radhika Sharma? Okay, I'll invite her. And let's see, a couple of others. Oh, Russell Brand is inviting us to Janmashtami. I just received an invitation from Russell Brand to come to Janmashtami. That's interesting.
Is that in your area?
Russell Brand? No, he's in the UK all the time.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with these devotees.
Yeah, he's a big comedian. Used to be married to Katy Perry, blah, blah.
Is he a devotee? I didn't recognize his name.
He's a friend of Radhanath Swami's. You know, he's gone to Parashuram's Food for Life program in what do you call it? Downtown London, where he feeds like thousands of people for prasadam.
Right.
And he's helped to like endorse it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of him.
That's nice.
Yeah. Okay. Jivan Mukta. Let's see if I asked him, will you come tonight? And he said, Krishna willing. That was his answer.
Interesting.
Okay, we just had Bhaktadas. He just
That
put
would
up
be
a
a treat.
post.
Hmm.
Let me see. Okay. Prabhu, it would be a treat if you joined us right now. Please attend the Bhagavad-Gita class. Okay, that's done. So without further ado,
Mhm.
Dieu in French means God or the Lord. So adieu, I'm guessing it means, I don't know what it means. I mean, adieu, adieu. Well, further, without waiting, I guess. I
I
should
see.
look up the French. Hey, Nanda Patni's here. Vanchakalpa Dhruvyas Chat. Hey, Nanda Patni. Hari Krishna, dear God sister.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Welcome.
Namo Namaha.
Yeah.
Jai. So I'm just bringing up the bhajan here. You're just in time. And okay, so tonight, Gaurangera Duti Pada, as I go through Achyutananda Prabhu's songs of the Vaishnavacharyas, and this is next in line. So I'm just going to go through it. If you can sync yourself with me, great. Otherwise, it can get a little complex if I have to. Okay, so Gaurangera Duti Pada Jahardana Sampada Sejane Bhakati Rasasar Gaurangera Madhur Lila Chahar Karne Pravishila Hridoya Nirmala Bimala Te Gaurangera Namaloy Tara Hoy Premodoy Tare Mui Jai Bolikari Goranga Gunete Jure Jali Latare Sejana
Bhakti
Bhakti
Adhikari
Gaurangera Sangigane Nitya Siddha
Kori
Gaurima
Mane
Seja
Jai
Rajendra
Rajendra Sutta
Shri Gaura Mandala Bhumi
Jai
Deva Jana
Chintamani
Damani Tar Hoy Braja Bhumi Bharat Gaura Prema Rasarna Be Setaram
Range Cheva Dhuve
Se Radha
Madhava
Madhava Grihe Baba
Anete Take Ha
Agoram
Ranga Pole Take
Narotama
Uttama Magitara Sangha
Narotama Magitara Word for word translation. Why don't you start Krishna Chandra and then Nandapatni and then I'll go after.
Jai Prabhu. Anyone who has accepted the two lotus feet of Lord Caitanya can understand the true essence of devotional service. If one is captivated by the pleasing pastimes of Lord Caitanya, the dirty things in his heart will all become cleansed.
One who simply takes the holy name of Gaurasundar, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, will immediately develop love of God. To such a person, I say, bravo, very nice, excellent. If one appreciates the merciful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and feels ecstasy and sometimes cries, this process will immediately help him to understand the eternal pastimes of Radha Krishna.
Simply by understanding that the associates of Lord Gauranga are eternally free from material contamination, one can immediately be promoted to the transcendental abode of Lord Krishna if one simply understands that the land of Navadvip is not different from Vrindavan, then he actually lives in Vrindavan.
If one says, let me dive deep into the waves of the nectarian ocean of the transcendental loving movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya, he immediately becomes one of the confidential devotees of Radha and Krishna. It does not matter whether one is a householder living at home or a vanaprastha or sannyasi living in the forest. If he chants, O Gauranga, and becomes a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, then Narottam Das begs to have his association.
What an ecstatic song.
Mm.
This makes you want to dive into the ocean of Lord Gauranga.
Yeah, Gauralina. Your
Absolutely.
name.
Just want to drown in that ocean. Just go in and don't come out.
That is the ocean to drown for sure.
Yeah. So why don't we read a little of the purport? I think the purport is actually, oh, what? It's not found. That's very strange. Okay.
We could try the other one.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, this is all right. Not bad. All right. Go ahead, Krishna Chandra.
Thank you. Gaurangera duti pada yaradhana sampada sejane bakati rasasara. This is another song composed by Narottam Das Thakur, and he says that one who has accepted the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, in other words, one who has the only asset of possession, the 2 feet of Lord Chaitanya, such person is supposed to know what is the essence of devotional service. Se jane bhakati rasa sara. What is the purport of devotional service, or what is the humor of devotional service? Can be understood by a person who has accepted Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet as everything. The idea is that actually Lord Chaitanya, he is Krishna himself, and he is teaching devotional service to the living entities personally, directly. Therefore, the modes of devotional service, as taught by Lord Chaitanya, is the most perfect. There cannot be any doubt. The expert or the master is teaching the servant how to work. If somebody is a master or of some engineering work, and he is personally teaching some assistant, that teaching instruction is most perfect. Similarly, Lord Krishna himself, in the role of a devotee, is teaching devotional service. Therefore, the path chalked out by Lord Krishna is the most feasible way for perfection to devotional service. Se jane bhakati rasa sara. Sara means essence.
And then he says, Gaurangera Madhuralila, Yara Karne Prashalila. Now he comes to the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and he says that Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are also as much transcendental as Lord Krishna's. As in the Bhagavad-Gita, it is said that anyone who can simply understand the transcendental appearance, disappearance, and activities, work of Krishna, he immediately becomes eligible to enter into the kingdom of God, simply by understanding the pastimes and the work, the transcendental activities of Krishna. Similarly, one who enters into the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, he immediately becomes freed from all contamination of the heart. Gaurangera Madhur Lila, Yara Karne Pravashila. Karne Pravashila means simply one has to receive the message of Lord Chaitanya. Karne means in the ear. To give the message a submissive oral reception, then immediately one's heart becomes freed from all material contamination.
Then he says, yay, go. Or did you want to make a comment?
No, I was just a wow.
Just blown away. Then he says, Ye gorongera namaloi, tarhoi premadoi. Now the devotees are concerned how to develop love of Godhead. Narottam Das Thakur recommends that anyone who simply chants Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Gauranga means with all this paraphernalia. As soon as we speak of Gauranga, we should mean the five, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Gadadhar, and Srivas, all together. So, Ye Gaurangera Namaloi, anyone who chants, immediately he will develop love of Godhead. Ye Gaurangera Namaloi, Tarahoi Premadoi, Tare Mui Joy Bole Hori. Narottam Das Thakur says, I offer him all congratulation because it is certain that he has developed love of Godhead. Then he says, Gauranga Gunete Jure, Nitya Lila Tare Spure. Anyone, if he cries by hearing the transcendental qualities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he at once understands what is the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. So I'd like to make a brief comment here where Prabhupada is saying, as soon as we speak of Gauranga, we should mean the five. And then he goes on to list the names of the Panchatattva, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, all together. So I remember reading one compilation. I believe it was done by Harikesh Prabhu back in the days when he was Swami. And it was on, how to do kirtan properly. And I'm not trying to remember now, was it, or maybe this was with Hari Sari, I think. One of the two of them. Maybe Hari Sari. And Prabhupada, and devotees were having a kirtan, and Prabhupada was walking by, and he was hearing them going, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, Haribol. And Prabhupada turned to Hari Sari and said, why just Nitai Gaur, Haribol? What about the rest of the Panchatattva? And it's interesting because, I attended Jai Advaita Swami's Kirtan Reform workshop, plus I watched it online a couple of times. And he makes an interesting point that Srila Prabhupada never chanted Nitai Gaur Haribol in any of his kirtan. This came from the Gaudiya Math. Prabhupada was always Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
That is
okay. Did I?
Now you mention it. Now I think back on it. That's sort of a significant thing that Prabhupada didn't chant Nitai Gaur Haribol. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, thank you for appreciating that. Welcome, dear Guru Bhai.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
This is to you.
Dandavad pranams.
What do you think about that statement, Siddhanta Prabhu, where Harisari makes that point? Did you hear what I was mentioning about Nitai Gaur Haribol?
Yeah. In addition to that, also Bhavananda mentions how chanting the Panchatattva mantra with everyone's name, that the devotees were pronouncing Gadadhar, and it's actually Gadadhar. And Prabhupada made comment about that. It's not Gadadhar, it's Gadadhar, Srivasati Gaur. Gadadhar.
Emphasis on the second syllable.
Yes.
Gadadhar. Interesting.
And because there's certain melodies that they're chanting, they got into the habit of, I guess it flowed better with a certain particular melody they were chanting. But that's the incorrect pronunciation.
Good to be reminded of these things, because who knows what we'll be chanting 50 years from now. Just like in that kirtan.
If we're around.
Well, yeah, we won't be, but I mean, maybe Krishna Chandra will be there. Just Maharaj was mentioning, Jadwita Maharaj was mentioning the Kirtan workshop a few years back that now we've introduced it to ISKCON, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad, Jaya Bhakta, but he was saying, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad, that's the name of a Hindi movie. Like, where'd we get that? We don't say Bhakta Ambarish or Bhakta Dhruva, or, we don't address them in that way.
And the other one is Lady Subhadra.
Oh, Lady Subhadra.
She's never, that's an English term.
I say they are Lady Subhadra. It's time for tea.
Subhadra.
Yeah. We've innovated in various ways.
Yogamaya.
Yes. Okay, back to the translation. Let's see. Did you read yet, Nandapatni? This the translate? Yes, you read, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm finishing. Did I finish my part? I think so.
Let's go back. Yes, I think you did.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. And so then it would be Siddhanta's turn for Nitya Lila.
Nitya Lila means the pastimes or the loving exchange, affairs between Radha and Krishna. That is eternal. That is not temporary. We should not think that Radha Krishna pastimes, loving affairs, is just like the business of a young boy or girl, as we see in this material world. Such loving affairs is not at all loving affairs. They are lusty affairs, and they are not eternal. Therefore, they break. Today, I'm in love with somebody, and the next day it breaks. But Radha Krishna Lila is not like that. It is eternal. Therefore, that is transcendental, and this is temporary. So simply one who is absorbed in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, he can immediately understand what is the actual position of the loving affairs of Radha Krishna. Nitya Lila Tare Spure, Seyaya Radha Madhava, Seyaya Vrajendra Sutta Pasha. And simply by doing that, he becomes eligible to enter into the abode of Krishna. Vrajendra Sutta means the son of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. He's sure to go to associate with Krishna in his next birth.
Gorangera Sange Gane Nitya Siddha Bholi Mane. Anyone who has understood that the associates of Lord Chaitanya, they are not ordinary conditioned souls. They are liberated souls. Nitya Siddha Bhole Mani. There are 3 kinds of devotees. One is called sadhana siddha. Sadhana siddha means by following the regulative principles of devotional service. If one becomes perfect, he's called sadhana siddha. Another devotee is called kripa siddha. Kripa siddha means even if he has not followed strictly all the regulative principles, still by the mercy of acharya or a devotee or by Krishna, he is elevated to the perfectional stage. That is specially. And another devotee is called Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha means they were never contaminated. The sadhana siddha and kripa siddha was contaminated by material touch, and by following regulative principles or by the mercy of or grace of some devotee and acharya, they're elevated to the perfectional stage. But Nitya Siddha means they were never contaminated. They're ever liberated. So all the associates of Lord Chaitanya, just like Advaita Prabhu, Srivas, Gadadhar, Nityananda, they are Vishnu Tattva. They are all liberated. Not only they, the Goswamis, there are many others. So they are ever liberated. So one who can understand that the associates of Lord Chaitanya are ever liberated, Nitya Siddha Ma Bale Mani, say Yaya Brajendra Sutapasha. Immediately he becomes eligible to enter into the abode of Krishna Chandra. Krishna Chandra, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was muted. I didn't realize. And then he says, Gauda Mandala Bhumi, Yeba Jani Chintamani. The Gauda Mandala means the place in West Bengal wherein Lord Chaitanya had his pastimes. In Navadvip, during Lord Chaitanya's birth anniversary, the devotees go and circumambulate different places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. It takes 9 days. So that portion of Bengal is called Gauda Mandala. So Narottam Das Thakur says, one who understands that there is no difference between this part of the country with Vrindavan, Tadahoy Brajabhumi Vasa, it is as good as one lives in Vrindavan. Then he says, Gauda Prema Rasarnarve, Lord Chaitanya's activities is just like an ocean of loving affairs of Krishna. Therefore, one who takes a dip into this ocean, Gauda Prema Rasarnave Se Taranga Yeba Dube, just like we take a dip and bath and we play sport in the waves of the ocean or sea. Similarly, one who takes pleasure taking a dip and sporting with the waves of the ocean of Lord Chaitanya's distribution of love of God, such a person becomes immediately a confidential devotee of Lord Krishna. Say Radha Madhava Antaranga. Antaranga means not ordinary devotee. They are confidential devotee. And Narottam Das Thakur says, Grihe va vanete take, such devotee who is taking pleasure in the waves of Lord Chaitanya's movement, because he has become a very confidential devotee of the Lord.
Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, such a devotee, it doesn't matter whether he's in the renounced order of life or whether he's a householder. Griha means householder. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement doesn't say that one has to become a renounced order, sannyasi. Just like Mayavadi sannyasis, impersonalists, Shankaracharya, they put the first condition that you take up the renounced order of life first and then talk of spiritual advancement. So in Shankara Sampradaya, nobody is accepted as bona fide impersonalists unless he is accepted renounced order of life. But here in Chaitanya's movement, there's no such restriction. Advaita Prabhu, he was a householder. Nityananda Prabhu, he was a householder. Gadadhara, he was also a householder. And Srivas, he was also a householder. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also married twice. So it doesn't matter. Narottam Das Thakur says that to become in the renounced order of life or to remain in householder life, that doesn't matter. If he's actually taking part in the movements of Chaitanya's Sankirtan activities and actually understanding what it is, he is taking sport in the waves of such devotional ocean. Then such a person is always liberated. And Narottam Das Thakur is aspiring his association ever increasingly. That is the sum and substance of this song.
So that's when Prabhupada was in Hawaii, he made reference to the sea sufferers, right? He asked one of the devotees, what are they doing? And Prabhupada said, oh, he's surfing. And Prabhupada said, oh, sea sufferers. He made us play on words. But here we're encouraged to sport in the waves of the devotional ocean.
Mm-hmm. Where do these
Okay, hold on a minute. I have to.
yeah.
Sorry.
I was just wondering where all these purports come from Prabhupada to the songs.
Good question. I would have to research it for you.
Oh, okay.
They're coming from the song. It's like Prabhupada would sing it, and then he'd give an explanation of it.
Oh,
Those
okay.
vintage tapes. Yes, Siddhanta?
Just a small correction from your last comment. As far as my understanding,
Sure.
when the devotee said, oh, Prabhupada, they're surfers. Prabhupada under his breath said, I say sufferers.
Okay.
He didn't say sea sufferers.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a small point, but it
Just
makes
to
no
make it
sense.
accurate. Yeah.
Sea sufferers.
Yeah. I may have read that.
Sufferers.
I may have read that in another place, but I can't remember now. I'd have to research. Hey, everybody, I got a wonderful gift sent to me tonight. And after we finish Bhagavad-Gita, if it's everybody's interest, we could read a little extract from Gargamuni, the new book of Gargamuni Prabhu.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pass.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
You asked.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But go ahead. I'll just
No.
sign off.
I want everyone to be happy. Okay.
Well, I'm not the majority. I'm a minority.
Okay. I respect that. Okay. So yeah, I've got Bhagavad Gita ready to go here. Now, last session, we read we were reading the purport to chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, but it also covered verse 3. But we didn't actually read verse 3 from the actual Bhagavad-Gita itself. We read it from a class that Prabhupada gave, and he just said a couple of words. So I thought I'd come back to that to make sure we covered it. Text 3. Pasyaitam pandu putranam acharya mahatim chamum vyudam drupada putrena tava shishena dhimata. Pasha whole etam this pandu putranam of the sons of Pandu, acharya, O teacher, mahatim, great, chamum, military force, vyudam, arranged, drupada putrena, by the son of Drupad, tava, your shishena disciple, dhimata, very intelligent. Would you like to read the purport, Siddhanta Prabhu, a translation and purport?
If you put it on the screen.
Oh, duh. Thank you for making me aware of that. All right, let me come back. Thanks for the heads up. How's that?
Not yet. There it is. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Purport. Duryodhana, great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmin commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmin, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military phalanx, after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this, he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna, especially, was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat.
Any comments or reflections on that?
I guess it just points out the complexity of how they were actually all cousins.
Mm-hmm.
They were family in bloodline, and also in the sense that Dronacharya was the teacher. So there was that teacher-student dynamic as well.
And honorable by not holding back his military secrets. Dronacharya.
Yeah, amazing that a guru would teach someone how to kill him.
It also reminds me of how Bhishma had accepted his fate when I think the name was Shikanda, right? The one who had
Shikandi, maybe.
Shikandi, I'm sorry. She was that individual was the one who finally defeated Bhishma because of the oath that he had taken, and he accepted that was going to happen as well.
That's a really great point you're raising, because that's reminding me that when some reverse falls upon me, I should not retaliate. Like Bhishma never retaliated, right?
Exactly. And I think even when Krsna had taken the wheel of that chariot and was holding it like a Sudarshan chakra, I think Bhishma was even happy to see that sight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he loved it.
Mm.
Do you have something to say about that, Siddhanta Prabhu, that mood of when reversals come upon a devotee, he, like you were saying, he was noble.
Well, I think I've told the story before about the famous tennis player who gave his over $2,000
All
for
right.
his life membership
Right.
program.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
was complaining to Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada said, do not be upset with the instrument of your karma.
Hmm.
We should
Excellent.
memorize that quote and imbibe that within our soul.
That'll be the ultimate bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Or T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I've quoted that. Sorry, go ahead, Nandapati.
Well, no, it's such a profound level to get to, in the face of difficulties that might arise, even as a devotee, of course. Yeah.
I've quoted it many times, but I've been confronted with how I have a really hard time accepting that because
Easier said than done, huh?
Yeah, false ego. I've heard this saying that the opposite of gratitude is arrogance, because gratitude means you're grateful for whatever comes your way, even if it's a difficulty, or even if someone's like rough or mean. Like, I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace. That idea. And arrogance is, hey, I'm entitled to better than this. Don't you know who I am? Kind of mood.
There's lots written about it in the canto, 7th canto, all about the Prahlad pastimes. The Prahlad purports are crammed with this information. Yeah, extensively. It's a great read.
Thank you for the reminder. Where he's teaching his classmates?
Yes, all of that. And that actually, in many ways, Prahlad's prayers, which are really significant, he actually, in certain places, prays to be put into difficulties. So then Prabhupada, elucidates on that. So that it's a very big chunk of that particular canto, and it's well worth.
Yeah, I need to review that. It sounds like the mood of Queen Kunti, Vipada Yatra Tatra Tatra Jagadguru. May these calamities come upon me again and again, because it's when I'm going through these tough times, that's when I remember Krishna.
Absolutely.
And things are going, but why would Prahlad Maharaj be? He was saying that those difficulties being put through, he was actually appreciating them because it was bringing him closer to Krishna. Is that the idea?
Yeah, so he was in the mood of, I will go anywhere, I will withstand anything. It's that same mellow, if you will, that Lord Chaitanya expresses. Do what you want with me, I'm all yours, kind of thing. So that's the depth of that platform, if you will.
And that was the mood of our Srila Prabhupada coming here to the West and everywhere he went. Car crash in Mauritius.
Yeah.
Surgery in London, England.
Yeah, all of it. It's about, the example is there.
I remember reading in Mukunda's book, I think one night Prabhupada got locked out of his apartment, so he had to stay over at Mukunda and Janaki's place. Do you remember that, Siddhanta?
Or he slept under a table in some office somewhere in downtown New York. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Are any of you going to a temple on Vyasa Puja Day? Is there a temple to go to?
I am.
Vyasa Puja a day after. Are you going anywhere, Siddhanta?
If I'm in okay health, I should be.
Yeah, everything for us in Toronto, everything's online as far as I know.
I'm not sure of the policy here, but it might be. I know Dayananda. Do you have the phone number for Dayananda, Gora?
I could get it, maybe. I could
You
try.
can text it to me. He was planning on coming to LA, but now I'm supposed to interview him on Zoom that'll be presented to the devotees here.
Oh, nice. Did you get Karandar?
I got Karandar,
Nice.
but Shilavati is not coming now either.
Oh,
She's 89 years old now,
oh, wow.
so she's too sick to travel.
She's like the original Pujari.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
she instructed everybody, trained them up.
Yes. I even have I have a little booklet from the deity department of Rukmini of ISKCON Los Angeles, describing how we should do deity worship through all of ISKCON. It was with LA was like the hub, right? The Western headquarters. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Karandar mentioned that.
Yeah. Please remind me at the end, or I'll search for a pen to remember to search out Dayananda's phone number for you if I have it. Usually, I think I would just message him on Facebook. That's how I would do it. Okay. So where are we right now? Can someone help me, please? Okay, so we finished this. Good. Okay, great.
You don't have the text up
Text 4.
Right.
on screen.
I'm just looking for it right now. Okay. Oh, text 4, right. Exactly. All right. Got it. Thank you. Here we go. Whose turn is it?
I don't know, Krishna Chandra.
I think Krishna Chandra. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. I should read the Sanskrit as well, right?
Yeah.
Atra Sura Maheshvasa Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Dropadascha Maharataha. Atra, here. Shudaha, heroes. Maheshvasaha, mighty bowmen. Bhima Arjuna, Bhima and Arjuna. Samaha, equal. Yudhi, in the fight. Yuyudhanaha, Yuyudhan. Virataha, Virata. Cha, also. Drupadaha, Drupada. Cha, also. Maharataha, great fighter. Here in this army, there are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. There are also great fighters like Yuyudhan, Virata, and Drupada. Please scroll down. Uh-oh.
1 second, please. Sorry.
That's quite all right. Okay. Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were the cause of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them.
Any comments from anybody on that?
I think it just sets the stage that the Pandavas were facing overwhelming force against them. And I think it also brought the point that Krishna truly was with them, because of course, as we know, that they were victorious. So it was not under easy circumstances. It was not through mundane tactical means. There was definitely a divine intervention. That's what I got from it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you do 5, 6, and 7 Nandapatni, because they're very short, and then we'll look at the actual class.
Okay. Dristaketus Chekitanaha Kashirajas Chavaryavan Purujit Kuntibojascha Shaivascha Narapunjava. Do you want me to do all the word for word?
Or just go to the translation if you like.
They're also
basically
great.
saying this.
There are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like Dristaketu, Chetikana, Kashiraj, and Purujit, Kuntiboja, and Shaibya. Yudamanyuscha Vikranta, Uttamanyuscha Viryavan, Sharubhadra Dropadyescha Sarva Eva Mahatrataha. There are the mighty Yujamanu, the very powerful Uttamuja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Asmakam tu Vishishta ye Taniboda Dvijotama Nayaka Mama Sanyasya Samnartam Tan Pravihimte. O best of the Brahmins, for your information, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force.
And we might as well do 8 while you're at it.
Okay. Bhavan Bhimas Chakarnas Cha Kripas Cha Samitim Jaya Ashvatama Vikarnas Cha Somadatis Tataiva Cha. There are personalities like yourself, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvatam, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta, called Burishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Purport. Duryodhana mentioned the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashvatama is the son of Dronacharya, and Somadati and Burishrava is the son of the king of the Balikas. Karna is the half-brother of Arjuna, as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya married the twin sister of Dronacharya.
Any reflections from you, Siddhanta Prabhu?
Well, just the mention of Karna
Okay.
reminds me of the story that Guru Kripa tells.
Okay.
Did I tell this one before?
Can't remember.
He had been in the movement about a year, and he was down South India on a mission to obtain life members. And he went into the office of the CEO, the president of this large company, a very wealthy man. And in the room was also a couple of the owner's friends.
Oh, okay.
Is this coming to?
Yeah, keep going, keep going.
Krishna Chandra, you remember me telling this story?
Not just yet. I might.
It's got a punchline to it, right, Siddhanta?
Yeah, there's a punchline. There's a learning lesson here. So so he's been in the movement about a year, and Guru Kripa, if you don't know him, he's a kind of a rough, tough, street kind of guy, and if you didn't know him as a devotee, you'd think he was a street thug, kind of a bully kind of guy. Short but tough, Marine kind of guy. So anyway, he'd been in the movement about a year, and he's preaching to these CEOs and the president, very wealthy people. And one of the CEO's friends starts to get in an argument with him by saying that he believes Karna is the hero of the Gita. And Guru Kripa says, no, it's Arjuna. He's the hero. And they're going back and forth, back and forth. No, it's Karna. No, it's Arjuna. And Guru Kripa starts to get angry in this debate about who is the real hero of the Bhagavad Gita. Is this fresh for you too?
I think I remember this now.
I could hear it again and again. It's wonderful.
Okay.
I don't mind hearing it again.
All right. So because he's starting to get angry, Guru Kripa, the guy who's been arguing with, said, well, what kind of guru do you have that you're exhibiting anger? That's not a sign of a true devotee or Vaishnava.
Here comes the punchline.
And Guru Kripa said, well, a year ago, I would have punched you in the face. So there is some effect of devotional service that it does change your behavior.
I've made
in
some
time.
advancement since then.
But the real purport is that the man, the CEO that he came to become and preach to and get him to become a life member actually did become a life member on that day, right then and there.
Wow, victory.
By his sincerity and his, just as the sheer force of his conviction.
So
and,
then the
serious
Indian
nature and his honesty. To
uh
say that, I was a fighting character a year ago, but now I've mellowed out where I'm not going to punch you in the face. But a year ago, I would have punched you in the face.
the Indian man was probably impressed by that.
Yeah. Honesty.
Yeah.
And if you can fake that, you got it made.
Devotees.
But Nanda Patni?
Don't we love the Western devotees?
Yeah, we can
Well,
relate.
you do, if you know Guru Kripa, you appreciate his boldness. He was very bold in preaching. He was not ashamed or abashed to say anything that was Prabhupada conscious or Krishna conscious.
And Prabhupada said in one place, to be humble means to be bold for Krishna.
Mhm.
I have a quote like that.
I must admit, Prabhupada's army was full of the most extraordinary characters.
Yeah.
True that.
Has anyone seen this one? I also received this one as a gift today. I'll build you a temple. The
Mhm.
Jew
Yeah. Mhm.
story. That's been
Yeah,
out for a while.
Few
A
months.
few months. Mhm.
Okay, Giriraj Swami's book.
Is that about the Juhu temple in
Yeah.
Bombay? Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I visited there almost 20 years ago. It's quite nice.
me too.
Mm.
Radha Rasa Bihari.
I got to live there for a while.
Wow.
Wow.
Living in the luxury.
Well, it wasn't actually where we stayed as brahmacharis, but that doesn't
They give you a
matter.
closet? They give you a
It's
closet?
that we would chant on the roof at dawn. That was the best. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually recorded a play by the devotees from the UK,
Vaikuntha players.
the Vaikuntha Players,
Mm.
and they were in New Vrindavan. And so they put on their makeup and their outfits and everything. And it's a play that I filmed out in the forest by the river, nice river there in New Vrindavan. And it's, let's see, what's it called? If you go to my website, you can see it.
Oh, you mean the Ramayan?
No, it's a play called, hold on, I'll tell you the official title that I titled it.
You took your camera equipment into the forest.
That's right.
That
It's
must
called,
yes. Hey, Jivan Mukta Prabhu is arriving. Yay.
Guy.
Haribol.
Jivan
Haribol, Haribol.
Mukta.
Sorry, I'm in my mobile.
You're in your
Resident.
Vimana. You're in your Vimana.
Yeah,
Going from every town, going to every town and village.
yeah, right.
It's called Kunti and Karna.
Jiva Mukta, Siddhanta Prabhu is just describing a movie that he made with, what year was this, Siddhanta?
Oh gosh, long time ago.
Was this 70s or 80s or?
No. 80s or 90s, maybe in the
Okay.
90s. During one of the Festival of Inspiration
Okay,
get-togethers in New Vrindavan.
yeah.
So you'd have to look it up when they held those. They don't hold those anymore. But it was the Bhaktivedanta Players from the UK, and some of their best actors there. So it was a play with two actors, Mataji that played Kunti, and a devotee played Karna. And so it's a dialogue between the two of them. they're meeting each other out in the forest for the first
Wow.
time since Kunti abandoned Karna.
Yeah.
And it's quite emotional.
I would say be very touching, must be.
It's a tearjerker, and I've got some nice music, some classical music to evoke those heartstrings to be pulled.
Which you added in later.
Yeah, in post.
Okay. Nice. So I'm trying to understand what's the connection. Oh, because of what we're reading in the Gita.
We're just naming. He was
Just the mention
naming.
of Karna.
Okay.
Many other thoughts come.
Okay.
Can you remind me? Didn't he get killed? Am I right?
Yeah, he does, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Jiva Mukta, do you remember what happens to Karna? Does he get killed on the battlefield?
Arjuna kills him.
Arjuna kills Karna.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why when they find out that Karna was
Right.
their brother,
that's
the
right.
brothers were devastated.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed their older brother. Arjuna killed his older brother.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, the interesting, as you were talking about this, which I remember reading it, and it was so emotional for me just reading it. It was talk about, like, you know, it affects you where you're practically crying just reading it. But the interesting thing is Krishna is so aloof, and a devotee, to a certain extent, a pure devotee, also is aloof, because they realize that in a sense these things are all, you know, Maya. You know, like, even though these are great devotees, these are all temporary manifestations of this material world, right? I mean, is it a spiritual? It's not something that happens in Vaikuntha or Goloka.
Right.
It happens in the material world. So Krishna is totally aloof of the entire drama of Karna. Krishna doesn't get affected in the same way that we do. And I was thinking that maybe this is why the Mahabharata is meant for the lower classes, because we are affected by emotion and by the drama of this material world. The Mahabharata tracks us in that regard and lifts us to a higher consciousness while doing that. You know, because like it reflects the drama that we can relate to in our relationships.
Right. The paradox of family members killing each other.
Yeah, like while we look at the family drama of the Pandavas, we also are being told in the Bhagavatam that these family members are it's all illusion. In fact, even Queen Kunti says that at the end, that like this is all illusion. Like these family members, they're not really my family members. You know, it's just all. Queen Kunti is saying that in the prayers of Queen Kunti when Lord Krishna is ready to leave where was that, in Hastinapur, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I was just thinking about that when you know, as we were, you know, kind of reminiscing of this pastime, that even though it's a very, very powerful, instructive pastime, the actual familial connection, it's all part of this illusory, you know, play of material energy.
So it's meant to help us reflect on our own existential circumstances.
Yeah. You know, and I might be wrong, but I'm just thinking that even with ourselves and our family members, you know, they're devotees and it's nice and it's like, you know, we inspire each other, but the actual relationship is just like Queen Kunti said, it's all an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Husband, wife, kids, like my kids. Okay, so even if they're devotees, okay, there might be some relationship there, material, but it's certainly not the same that we have here. And our connection that we see here in this material realm, if we're attached to that, that's also an illusion. And that's something that ultimately has to be given up, you that we have to become detached from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's obviously the whole construction of the Gita, isn't it? That when Arjuna's becoming faint-hearted, that the whole construction is there for then Krishna to speak. These aren't really your relatives. Yes, they are, but they're eternal beings, so don't worry about killing them.
Right.
And I have a plan for them. Krishna has a plan.
Can we go back to Kunti and Karna for a second? Can you remember, Jivan Mukta, why Kunti? I mean, obviously it was her first marriage, but why didn't she tell? Was it considered unfaithful to?
Oh my God!
Tell them? Yeah.
Had a child
I
out
mean,
of wedlock.
A child out of wedlock, a young girl, and it would have been. And even if people understood that it was a demigod who impregnated her, so what? I mean, that's not an excuse.
It's an extraordinary situation. Yeah. I can't quite remember her story of how she conceived Karna.
Well, does someone want to tell the story for Prabhu?
You go ahead.
Siddhanta Prabhu, why don't you tell the story?
Because I defer to you.
No, I defer to you, Prabhu.
It's at the beginning, in the very beginning here of the teachings of Queen Kunti. There's a very nice explanation right here. If we want to read that.
Sure.
Okay, the tragic and heroic.
Although sometimes it can be really long, I think we want
make a synopsis.
A short.
Well, right.
If I could say it. Like what happened was Kunti, as a young girl, was given a benediction by Durvasa Muni because she served Durvasa Muni so wonderfully when he came to visit, the palace that she was in, that she could call upon any demigod at any time that she wanted, and he would, and that her call, and if she called these demigods, that they would, that it wouldn't be unfruitful. So she didn't understand that by calling the demigod, what this meant was that the demigod would not leave without giving her, fruit, a child. That the demigod would give her a child, and she didn't understand that. She was very young, and so one day she was in her room, and she saw the sun, and she thought, I should try this mantra. I can, if I chant this mantra, the sun will come right into my room, and then I want to see whether, how powerful these mantras are.
Right.
So she chanted this mantra to call the sun god.
Vivasvan.
And Vivasvan. And as it happened, the sun god appeared immediately, and she was like, she offered obeisances. It was like, wow, I was given this mantra and it works. Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. And, that's it. Like I didn't know that it would be so powerful. And now that I know, I'm sorry to disturb you. And the sun god said, well, that's all nice and well, but, I can't leave without first basically impregnating. And she was shocked because she didn't realize that what it was, that would be the result. And anyway, I'm sure, it doesn't describe the whole process of impregnation, but I'm sure it was something, different than what we're accustomed to. And so that's how she was pregnant. And she was impregnated by Vivasvan. And she kind of stayed basically incognito, in her room, so that not very many people were aware of her pregnancy. And when the baby was born, she put the baby in a basket, put the baby in the river, and that's how kind of the story ended.
It says to keep, Prabhupada says to keep her virginity undisturbed, the sun god arranged to give her a child that came from her ear. And therefore the child was born as Karna.
Yeah.
No, thanks for recalling that. I have read
Well,
it.
I don't know.
Remember.
Very short version of it. Very short version.
That's okay.
What does Karna mean? Ear?
Yeah.
Yes. That makes sense then, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he was born from her ear.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So
Karna was such a great soul. Like his qualities were just tremendous.
it's like I'm gonna say, okay, so let me just go back to where we were. Now we're starting. Okay, here we are. Prabhupada in London, July 10th, 73. This is verses 4 and 5. Atrashura Mahe Maheshvasa Bhimarjuna Samayudi Yuyudano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharataha. Here in this army, there are many heroic moments equal in fighting to Bhim and Arjun. There are also great fighters like Yuyudan, Virata, and Drupada. Prabhupada. So all these heroes are mentioned not only in this verse, in several other verses also. So people may ask that, quote, by mentioning these great fighters, what spiritual progress we make? Because we are meant for chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So by chanting the names of these great fighters, what do we gain? The question may be raised there. But the thing is that Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe, whenever there is connection with Krishna, that also becomes Krishna. This is a subtle form of philosophical understanding. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe, if there's relationship with Krishna, therefore the Sahajas, they do not read Bhagavad-Gita. They say, we have nothing to do with Bhagavad-Gita. They jump over to the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, Krishna's Rasa Leela, as if Krishna is connected with Rasa Leela and not with this Leela. They make distinction. Krishna, this fighting Leela pastimes and the Rasa Leela pastime, they are all the same because Krishna is the center. Krishna being center, whatever in connection with Krishna is there, that all becomes also Krishna. This is the idea. Anasaktasya vishayan yattarham upayunjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam varagyam uchate. This is the instruction of Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So just like we have to deal with money or persons who are not Krishna conscious, outsider, we have to deal with them. But when we go to outsider or when we deal with money, there is relationship with Krishna, Krishna's sambandha. So Rupa Goswami has distinguished prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vivashtunaha mumukshubi parityago varagyam palgu katyate. Prapanchika means neutral. So prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna. Everything has got connection with Krishna because ultimately everything is Krishna's energy. The material world is also manifestation of Krishna's energy. Bhumirapo nalo vayu, Bhagavad-Gita 7:4. Fine. Material world means these 5 elements, gross and subtle, earth, water, air, fire, sky. These are gross, and mind, intelligence, and ego. These are subtle. These elements, material elements, Krishna says, Biname prakritir astada. These material elements, they are separated, but they are my energy. They are my energy. The same example, just like cloud. Cloud is created by the sun. It is sun's energy, which creates the cloud. You know, by temperature, the seawater is evaporated, forms into gas. That is cloud. So cloud is created by the energy of the sun. But when there is cloud, you cannot see the sun. Sun is covered. Similarly, material energy is Krishna's energy. But when you become covered by this material energy, you do not see Krishna. This is the position. Any reflections from this section, please? A lot of points.
I mean, it's just wonderful how Prabhupada, I think this is where we kind of differ from other like groups, Vaishnava groups, let's say, is that Prabhupada didn't just present to us the 10th canto. You know, this is how the devotees in ISKCON, I think, have been accustomed to understanding Krishna consciousness, is that, you know, everything is important. The battle of Kurukshetra is important. All of these individuals are significant, that we don't just talk about gopis and we don't do that. And I think all of us probably feel a little discomfort when we are kind of subject to that other kind of, you know, recitation of Krishna consciousness. Not that it's not important, not that we don't understand it's the highest, but we're not used to exclusively focusing on that.
It's not how we were trained.
No, it's not. And we can see Prabhupada's lecture. It's like he's telling us that there's the groups of sahajas that don't bother with this type of, you know, stuff, because for them it's beneath them.
It's true. Yep.
That's not Prabhupada's style, and it's not how Prabhupada taught us. And it's certainly not because Prabhupada was beneath anyone.
I don't want to mention any names, but one God brother, I was talking to him, I don't know, a year or two back, and I was mentioning something about wanting to create a Bhagavad-Gita study group. He said, "Oh, Bhagavad-Gita, I'll probably never read that again." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Well, that's not my Ross."
Wow.
And I was shocked because I didn't have and you know, he's like really prides himself in being a big aficionado of Raganuga Bhakti, and he loves pursuing that topic. And when I heard this from him, I thought, wait a minute, Prabhupada was giving Bhagavad Gita classes right up to the end. I mean, that's just, I didn't have a frame of reference.
His name doesn't start with the letter U, does it?
I don't want to incriminate myself nor bring any
I didn't say a name.
Yeah, I don't want to bring any inauspiciousness upon because I was threatened actually by this personality.
Oh,
I was actually threatened. Yeah, I was told, "You're no longer my friend, but don't become my enemy, or you'll regret it."
You know, I'm reading the Caitanya Charitamrita now, where Lord Caitanya is describing the qualities of Lord Krishna to Sanatana Goswami, they're discussing the Atmarama verse. And Prabhupada brings in, and Lord Caitanya, there's still references to Bhagavad Gita shlokas. Lord Caitanya is referencing, you know, the first and second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, even while discussing the highest principle of Krishna consciousness. Lord Caitanya is connecting it to Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first verse. Lord Caitanya is making connections to Bhagavad-Gita. You know, like Lord Caitanya doesn't even do that.
Interesting point you're making. Thank you. Wow. What do you think, Nandapatni?
Well, I've always found such tremendous value in the way that Prabhupada has been so, for want of a better word, cautious, if you will, on how we were all meant to approach, you know, any kind of higher subject matter. And, you know, Jivan Mukta is giving a very good example of how from our particular Diksha Guru, how this was handled. So, you know, at the very least, it should be extremely private in discussion. It's not a public thing. I was referencing to you the other day how Bhanu Swami has translated, you know, many of the sort of rustica grants, as they're called. And he would never launch into them publicly.
I see. Interesting.
So anyway, that's my kind of
meant for like more like private study.
It yes, and then the as far as I understand it, that one is meant to befriend a Vaishnava on an equal level, be instructive to those who, are at the very beginning, and take, listenership of those who have a greater understanding than yourself. I mean, that's the process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Prabhupada kept us well within the guardrails in practically every purport he writes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We also take example, like, look at Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada. I mean, did he give an example of, swooning, talking about, Rasika topics, on a regular basis? No, it was very, very rare, if at all. Srila Prabhupada, I feel, is the topmost, example of Krishna consciousness, a proponent of Krishna consciousness, because he so perfectly imbibed the view of his spiritual master. So it just shows the importance of us accepting the mood of our spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada was like a reflection of Bhaktisiddhanta.
Very nicely said. He exemplifies him.
Perfectly, in every way.
And
so
then,
I think it's incumbent upon us as disciples, followers of Srila Prabhupada, of doing the same. And this is why it's kind of jarring for many of us when kind of another mood comes in, because that's not the mood of Srila Prabhupada. So it jars us, even if we can't sometimes express it, what it is that's bothering us. We know in our...
Yeah. Siddhanta, do you want to say a little more on that, Prabhu?
Well, I don't know about that so much, but on the previous thing we were reading about how Krishna cannot be seen when the cloud comes between us. And Krishna, that reminded me of a time when Prabhupada was on an airplane and the pilot, very pious pilot, came back and sat down and had a discussion with Prabhupada about philosophy. And then the pilot asked Prabhupada about, and a typical thing, so many people will say, well, if there's God, how can he allow so much sickness and suffering going on in the material world? And Prabhupada gave the analogy about how if there's a sun is up, but we turn our back to the sun, then we create the shadow. The sun doesn't create the shadow. We create the shadow by turning our back on the sun. So the suffering is coming because we're not following the laws of God.
Jiva Mukta?
Wonderful example. That's wonderful.
There's a great photo of that.
Yes.
Have you seen that photo, Siddhanta? I'm sure you have.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a follow-up story that's on the memory series about how when Prabhupada gave that example to the devotees, when Prabhupada got off that flight and arrived at and I can find it, I don't have it at hand right now, but when he arrived at the location, the city he was going to, after traveling on that particular airline, talking with the pilot, he described to the devotees, assembled devotees who were around him, what that pilot had said and how he answered that. And one of his servants, somebody in the assembly of devotees, said, Prabhupada, what a great example. Thank you. Well, and Prabhupada said, oh, you like that? That he, was appreciating, the devotees appreciating his sparring and, not really jousting with the he wasn't fighting with the pilot, but he gave such a great analogy that was like something that hadn't been heard before. It was the first time that particular analogy had been spoken by Prabhupada. And then he revealed that answer or that response to the assembled devotees. And they, wow, they like that response and conversation that Prabhupada personally shared with them, which occurred right after that particular flight.
That's a very apt analogy, because we're often, in the course of preaching Krishna consciousness, we're often met with people that if there's a God, why is there so much suffering in the world? But Prabhupada shows that we have to take ownership for that suffering. It's not the cause of the sun. It's not the fault of the sun that we're in the shadow. That was our choice to turn away.
I think fundamentally, though, the misunderstanding is because we don't understand that we have previous life, that the soul is eternal. As soon as you know the soul is eternal and you understand karma, then it makes sense. But most people think that this is it. We're born once and we die, and why am I born the way I am and someone else is born a different way? It doesn't make sense.
Right. If you see the bigger picture, then everything falls into place.
Yeah. I mean, we all ask that question. I remember, asking the same thing. Why, are some people born in families where they're filthy rich and others are poor and others are in constant suffering and pain and others are, in a stable environment? All these discrepancies. Because I'm thinking, I was born, this is my first birth. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. When I
to speak of twins.
What to speak of twins? Yeah. Meaning
that when one grows up, one can become rich and the other one's poor. Why? They were born from the same parents, they have the same upbringing, they look alike, but it's their own individual karma that carries the results from their past life.
I remember as a boy, maybe, I don't know what I was, 8, 9, 10, maybe 12, I can't remember. But I went to my Catholic priest and I said, because I'd been reading about the Vietnam War and seeing a picture of a little child watching the grandparents getting machine gunned down by a US Marine in a Vietnamese village. And it was just horrible. And I went to my priest, Father, why do these horrible things happen to these nice people? And he said, well, son, it's a mystery. And I was frustrated because it wasn't satisfying. And I implored him more. And he said, well, God's testing people. But that still didn't answer my question, because why is he testing this one in this way and someone else in another way? So, but it was good that I was frustrated, because it made me want to keep searching for more, because Prabhupada said everything that's in the Bible is in the Bhagavad-Gita, but there's so much in the Bhagavad-Gita that's not in the Bible.
That's the same response that Mike Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard's father, had when he was in the seminary. And he asked the priest there a particular question about God, and he didn't have the answer. So he responded to him, well, God is a mystery, and that wasn't satisfying to him. So that furthered his quest to search out more, and finally he met a disciple of Prabhupada that gave him the answers in Prabhupada's books.
You recorded him saying that?
Yeah.
Welcome, Nirhari and Baba Charini Prabhu's. Our obeisances to you. The dynamic duo. Okay, we're going to be done in just a few minutes. So why don't you, since you're the only ones I think that didn't read, why don't you read a little bit for us, please?
Okay.
Okay, let me just get back here to sharing the screen. Share screen.
You want to run and get your glasses?
And where did we finish off? Does anyone remember? I read that, and I think this section. So we have to use our intelligence. Nirhari, can you see?
He went to get his glasses, so I'll read first.
Please, okay.
Yes. Okay. So we have to use our intelligence. That is described by Srila Rupa Goswami. Prapanchiktaya Buddha Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha Mumukshubihi Parit Yaigaha Mumukshu especially the Mayavadis who are after liberation, to merge into the existence of the Supreme. Mumukshu moksha, they, Mayavadas, say, everything is Maya. Brahma satyam jagan mithya. This world is false. Only Brahman is reality. But we say that why the jagat? The world should be false if it is coming from reality. We do not agree with them. We do not accept that this world is false. No, we can say it is temporary manifestation, but it is not false. Why is it false? We are living in this house. If somebody, some rascal says it is false, why false? We are utilizing this house. We are utilizing this microphone. We are utilizing the dictaphone. Why is it false? There is sambandha. There is relationship with Krishna. Anything material made of earth, water, fire, air, they are Krishna's energies. Therefore, there is direct relationship with Krishna. And if Krishna is reality, why his energy should be false? No, we must know how to utilize it.
Do you have a reflection on that, Bhavatrini? Anything you want to say about that paragraph?
Just one of the first things when I moved into the Atlanta temple is, when I went to Atlanta, I was standing outside the temple with another devotee that had been there maybe a week. And she was saying, this world is not false. It's real. It's just temporary. And she was saying, just like this leaf on the tree, you know, you can touch it. It's real, but it's temporary. Just reminded me of that.
Mm-hmm. Chutananda would probably go on for an hour just about this little section.
Yes.
Siddhanta, anything? Oh, Nurhari, you wanted to say something?
No, that morning walk, it reminds me of the morning walk that I was in Mayapur with Srila Prabhupada, and a lot of things were going on. I was just reading your post with Bhaktadas. Anyhow, when I mentioned that Chutananda Prabhu was saying, oh, the thing about the rope and the
Snake.
And the snake. And so it was just, the sun was just coming up. And I think I was probably the junior most devotee there. The rest was all GVC and sannyasis. And there was some argument going on just a little previously for that. Prabhupada was a little serious. And so, but then at one point he stopped. He said, actually what we do have is the United Nations, the real United Nations. So we turned and we went into the field towards the pandal that had all the photographs of all had the photographs of all the deities of the world.
I remember that.
Yeah, do you remember? And
yeah.
There was a nice little anecdote on that one too. And so just before we got to the tent, their material left, here and there. And there was a rope just coiled. It looked just like a snake. And so as the sun was coming up, you could see it, the shade. So Prabhupada immediately pointed to the rope and he said, you see, one day when Krishna comes into your heart, when you attain perfection, you'll see everything very clearly. It's just like this rope. Last night, that was a snake, a scary snake. Now this morning, it's just a rope. That was the thing about being with Srila Prabhupada, and as I see, Siddhanta Prabhu, I see all our God brothers and that he could make an analogy.
An ordinary situation and turn into all the experience.
Yeah, very simple thing, but it was very impacting teaching.
Him saying Chutananda would have something to say because he is very much enthusiastic to preach against Mayavadism.
Oh, yes.
And he thought that the using the snake and the rope was the Mayavadi analogy, but Srila Prabhupada turned it into a Vaishnava analogy.
Interesting.
Yes, I thought it was. And the other thing, and it was another morning walk, and we were with Srila Prabhupada, and he said, in personalness, so we get to close to a wall, and the brahmachari ran ahead of Prabhupada, and climb up this little promontory stuff and extended his hand to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada grabbed his
You
hand.
told that.
Remember,
before,
I told, yeah. So he slaps it. That's the Maya box. When they get up to perfection of the top, they slap the Guru Maharaj, and I'm gone now. So they're useless.
Siddhanta Prabhu, did you get all these stories from Hari in your recordings of him?
Well, that story was told by Bhavananda, who was the one that Prabhupada slapped his hand.
Okay.
Sorry, it was a brahmachari. I think Brahmananda was to the side.
No, he said Bhavananda.
Oh,
Yeah.
He said he was the one that extended the hand to Prabhupada.
Oh.
Yeah.
But, time passes and I remember it's blurry. But it was, I thought it was a brahmachari. But it was,
I don't know, it
very
might have
funny.
been, but Bhavananda told me it was, I can only accept what he says. I have no reason that he was lying.
Right.
Right,
So
right.
that's the important thing.
The lesson is the same, no
Yeah.
matter who it happened to.
Yeah. So
And would you like to read the last paragraph of the night, Nirhari Prabhu?
ooh.
So
Ah,
similarly,
wind it up.
similarly in this battlefield.
So similarly, in this battlefield, Krishna is there and all the living entities. Some of them are soldiers, some of them are commander-in-chiefs, some of them this, that, or the chariot of the or the ground, everything Krishna's energy. So if we remember that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy, there is no question of materialism. It is all spiritual energy. So Nirbandha, Krishna Sambandhi. So we had to use them for Krishna. Here, all of them have gathered. This is another Krishna's energy. Krishna appears. Paritranaya sadunam vinashaya chadushkritam. Bhagavad-Gita 4:8. He wanted to kill all the demons. That is another side of his business. As one side, paritranaya sadunam, to give protection to the devotees. The other side is to vanquish all the demons. Just like if you want to grow paddy on the field. So first of all, you have to destroy all the unwanted weeds. Then you grow the seeds. It will come out nicely. So these two things are unwanted weeds. Then you grow the seeds. It will come out nicely. I'm sorry. So these two things are required: destruction and construction. Both the things are Krishna's activities or different energies. So you cannot accept one thing, giving up the other side. We have to understand that both sides, they're working as different manifestations of Krishna's energy. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Sruyate. Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 1365, purport. In the Vedas, it is said that the Absolute has got multi-energies. So one energy is working in one way, another energy is working in another way. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Sruyate. Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. Just like here also, when we do something, we require varieties of energies to make that thing perfect. So everything, Krishna's this material world or spiritual world, everything is working in order under different energies.
Why don't you just, so it'll be easier for us to remember that we're starting on verse 5 next time. Would you just read the last paragraph?
With paragraph
please?
with the verse. So these, I mean to say, warriors, name mentioning, we should not neglect. Krishna wanted to gather all demoniac power in that battlefield of Kurukshetra and kill them. That was his plan. So there is a plan of Krishna. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhi. We should not be attached to things as they are, but we should try to understand that there is relationship with Krishna. And as soon as there is relationship with Krishna, we shall properly utilize it. That is Krishna consciousness. As soon as we understand that there is relationship with Krishna, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhi, everything can be utilized for Krishna. Krishna is not a stereotype, stagnant block. Krishna is a dynamic force. Therefore, everything can be dovetail in the service of Krishna. Simply one should learn the art under proper guidance how to utilize. Then that will be perfect form of Krishna consciousness.
Jivan Mukta Prabhu, did you have any further thoughts on this section? Are you still there? Driving in your
Yeah,
Vimla?
I'm still here. I am still here. I was just thinking earlier regarding, the falsity of this world compared, seeing it as false instead of seeing it as temporary. And I remember, when I was younger, that there was a French philosopher who committed suicide. Sartre.
Oh, Camus. That was Camus.
Oh, Camus, right, Camus. And I think because they were existentialists, I think they called themselves.
Mhm.
I mean, they saw the world as false and meaningless, and they just felt there's no reason to live. I mean, there's no meaning to it. When we die, it's all over anyway, so what's the point of living? And I think that's where, if we don't have an understanding of the way, the Vedic understanding of how this world is Krishna's energy ultimately, that it's eternal in a sense, but temporary. It manifests temporarily in different ways according to time, that it does become meaningless. It is something that would lead a lot of people to suicide, because there's no meaning to life. There's just suffering. And even love, because we know that there's no real love in this world, that even love ultimately is lust, it's self-abuse, it's people just exploiting each other, and it also leads to suffering. So without that understanding, that Vedic understanding, the misery is actually multiplied with this understanding of the world's falsity and temporary nature. So that's what I was thinking about, when Prabhupada was making that point of how it's not false, it's temporary. Very, very significant difference. Very significant difference.
I was thinking how Prabhupada was saying, let's see if I can just go back there for a second. Where were we? Share the screen. Prabhupada was talking about utility. What did he say exactly? We should learn the proper guidance how to utilize. I was thinking of that aphorism that I heard from the time I joined in 75. Preaching is the essence, purity is the force, books are the basis, and utility is the principle. I heard that actually Prabhupada never said that. that actually came from some kind of Japanese or Chinese aphorism or something, and it was applied. I don't know if it was Shamasundar or Karandar or who it was, but I mean, it sounds like our philosophy. Prabhupada is saying that it's important to understand the utility of anything.
Right.
How do you just read this section? Did you have any thoughts on it before we wind up?
Interesting, because also another morning walk, Cheviot Hills, 1973. Hi-Hi asking Prabhupada, isn't it all a dream? And Prabhupada said, no, it's temporary. You feel it's temporary, but it's not a dream. It's not. And another point, Prabhupada, I think I read somewhere recently, where Prabhupada said, it is like a dream. To Hanuman, actually, he told him that, but Prabhupada said, it's so real. It's so, the thing is so real. This so-called reality is like, I feel it. Say, well, don't you dream at night? And you say, yeah, isn't it real? I mean, like we feel things. We fall in or something, or a tiger or we get killed, and maybe the pain, not quite the pain acutely there, but there are those emotions that manifest. So I thought that was interesting that and many that's impersonalism too, that everything's a dream. It's, you know,
Yes.
we wake up to reality.
Could I say something?
Yes, please.
Okay. If they're talking about Srila Prabhupada saying that everything is coming from Krishna, so it has to be real because it has a relationship, sambandha, with Krishna.
Right.
And then he's talking about on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where they're saying the names of all the adversaries of Krishna.
Yeah.
But they have a relationship with Krishna, he's saying, so we should know all their names. And
Yes.
then I like Sambandha, and then he was using Nirbandha and
Nirmanda.
yeah. And so near means without, and bandha is like relationship. And then I was thinking it must be similar to the word bandhu, which is friend. So the verse is like
Here it is.
Srila Rupa Goswami. So I don't remember the whole meaning of the verse, but he several times in the text, Prabhupada's saying Nirbandha Sambandha. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha.
Nirbandha, right there.
Yeah, no, I
Nirbandha
see
Krishna
it.
Sambandha.
Yeah.
Krishna being center, whatever in connection with Krishna is there, that becomes also Krishna.
Right. But Nirbandha is without the relationship. So it reminded me of the instruction and nectar of devotion that the two rules are to always remember Krishna and never forget him.
You know, I read something very interesting in Caitanya Charitamrita the other night that that the devotees practicing sadhana bhakti, that even if they don't achieve the raganuga, you know, prema bhakti, that spontaneous loving service to Krishna, even if they're following devotional service according to all the rules and regulations, they achieve Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
So it's not something that is that the devotees should despair about, because they do get elevated to the spiritual world, and then from there, of course, they can make further progress. But I forgot reading that before, that the devotees practicing, it's a little removed from what we've been talking about, but the devotees practicing devotional service, even if they're still on the level of sadhana and following because they've been advised to follow the rules and regulations by the spiritual master, when they haven't developed that spontaneity, that loving spontaneity, they still achieve Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha only, or Goloka?
Vaikuntha.
No,
Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha.
But it's very hopeful, because if your heart and your reality is at a different level, Goloka, then you'll keep proceeding. So it's a very helpful thing to know that nothing is lost.
Nothing is lost.
Yes, everything is bringing you to the highest goal.
You're saying you can keep progressing from Vaikuntha to Goloka.
Well, I think it's important for devotees to be encouraged, to have faith, be, dedicated to the process, because like Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, there's no loss or diminution. And we have, the benefit of even just being a sadhana bhakta is inconceivable. I mean, going to Goloka is one thing, even Vaikuntha, like it's an inconceivable, achievement compared to where we're stuck now in this material realm.
Yeah.
Earlier we were reading in one of the paragraphs, I think it was mentioned as Kripa Siddha, that if one is not perfected, then it's Kripa Siddha.
But we
sadhana siddha, and then the kripa siddha.
But we shouldn't depend on the Kripa Siddha, right?
Yeah, but we're
No.
talking about having hope.
Well, it's that.
Yeah, we're
It's
just
So I sound like a Debbie Downer.
I'm speaking from the bottom, below the bottom rung of the ladder.
But at
That's the
least
nature.
if we can see
that's
the
the
ladder, yeah.
That's
Do you want-
the
do you want me to
nature.
what?
The nature of a genuine devotee, Mataji, is to be humble and just the way you are.
No.
Sign of a genuine devotee.
Well, it's genuine struggling. That's it, put it that way.
It's always the test.
Yeah. So yes, go on, your Hari Prabhu.
No, the same in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, as La Prabhupada write in a letter, forget now who it says, but it says perfection is like an ocean, and so there is a progression within it, and so when one, it's not that we can fall into this Abrahamic conception that whatever you do, if you have faith in God, you go home this lifetime. But if you scrutinize the acharyas and like that, you have to come to the point of so-called perfection. So, but we follow the spiritual master. So we asked Prabhupada in a lecture in 75, it was in February in Mexico, and actually one devotee actually asked, when one attains perfection. The first question was, if I die thinking of you, Srila Prabhupada, the Gita says, those who, think of me at time of death, they'll attain perfection. For us is vimukta, which is more than just liberation. So said Prabhupada, if we think of you at the time of death, would that be okay? Prabhupada said, yes. And he said, oh, so then when we attain perfection, we go straight to Vaikuntha, or we go to Goloka? And Prabhupada said, no. First you go to a universe where there is a planet Earth where Krishna has appeared, and you take birth, and that is called Boma Vrindavan and Braj. He didn't speak about you take birth in Dwarka or like that. Although they have those inhabitants, Mathura or Dwarka, have a relationship. There will be Rasavasa to try to mix the Krishna. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So Prabhupada speaks about Vrindavan specifically, where Krishna and the Gopas, the Gopis, Maya Jashoda, and Nanda Baba. So it says you take birth in a family there. So it's all a family business.
But I heard recently, I don't know if it was from you or who I heard, it was the first time I've ever heard it, that before we go to Krishna's Boma Leela, we go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Boma Leela, and then we go to Krishna Leela, and then we go to Goloka. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, according to, depends on the attraction, because once you attend, if you read in Jaiva Dharma, there is a section where the devotees they come to the point where one is attracted to be a friend of Krishna taking care of his cows, so it'll be a Saka position. The other one, no, he wants to enter the circles of the gopis. And so
it's individual then. It depends on the individual.
Yes, but then also then there'll be an attraction to Chaitanya Leela, to both. Then we can be in both places. The soul doesn't have to be in one place.
That's where you can be. That's where you can be a split personality.
It's good.
It's fine.
It's good.
So there's even a place for those who have a split personality. Everyone's accommodated.
That is fine.
Yeah. Or multiple, because I mean, look at the
Multiple personality disorder.
Multiple. Well, it's just that, like Mother Jashoda, she goes wherever Krishna takes birth. as his mother always.
Eternally.
And so now you have a series, almost infinite amount of universes emanating for Krishna from Vishnu, Mahavishnu. And then in each one is, it's like one after another is coming out of his body. So in each one, you have Krishna at the particular time, and then all his associates are there.
I think my brain's
Actually,
going to.
this principle is explained in the Brihad Bhagavad-Gita.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. So, and do you remember what you were quoting before too, Prabhu, and that Vaikuntha, with sadhana, if we do Vidhi Bhakti, and then there's Raganuga Bhakti. Vidhi is to do with regulations, but sometimes the bodies get confused and they think, oh, when you attain Raga Marga, you attain spontaneity in your service, then there is no rules and regulations. No, those who practice to a spontaneous love service and a spontaneous love, there's also a practice moment. It's not that all of a sudden practicing, although Prabhupada explains that too, is that one day you wake up and you can hardly wait to see the Lord at the temple. You run into and your service will switch from that regulation. Well, now I have to do this, and that because it's this certain time of the day, or I have to dress him a certain way because it's winter and like that. No, you do it according to he is now my best friend, or you might have the inkling of being parental, and so I have to protect Krishna. It's all based on service, of course, and they want all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they couldn't live without Krishna, but they want what is best for him. And
so I have a question, please. Yeah, sorry if I interrupt you.
Yeah.
So one godbrother was preaching to me a couple of years back that you have to find out what that taste is in this lifetime. Don't expect that it's going to be revealed to you after. According to my conditioning or my training in our ISKCON for so many years, I always thought, no, all of this will be revealed to you on the basis of your chanting of the holy name. It's not that it's necessarily going to be revealed to you by reading these pastimes. And oh yeah, I definitely want to hang out with the coward boys, or because I didn't even hear Vatsalya Ras even mentioned in these kinds of discussions. It was like you're either into being a gopa or you're into being a gopi, and it just all seemed very speculative to me. I didn't know what to make of it.
Right. Yeah. No.
No, it's a descending process. You don't achieve it through your chanting or through reading the books. It's through the mercy of the spiritual master, and you get that mercy by sincerely surrendering and praying and chanting like your life depends on it, or just surrender, like it says in the Bhagavad-Gita. It's not, and you may surrender and you still might not get the mercy of the spiritual master. So it's not dependent on what we do.
Yeah, but it does depend on what we do. Because
it doesn't.
There's a point of sincerity.
Nirbandha and Sambandha.
You have to do something. So the verse Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the definition of Bhava Bhakti, is the sense from, it's like a ray of love actually descending from who? Ladini Shakti. Prabhupada spoke like that in the book you were reading. We need the assistance of the
book we're reading.
Yes, and Sridhar Maharaj speaks about the definition of gopi. The root is gupa, means protecting and nourishing, and so
gupa,
G-U-P-A.
Gopi is coming from gupa.
Yes, we just read that
gupa.
2 days ago. From Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Vrindavan Vilasini looks things up and then sends us all these nectar things every day.
Have her put me on her list.
I'll ask her.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
yes,
she
sure,
does
sure
have a
thing.
Tell her
list.
and the guy she met on the rooftop when I wandered up there one day, and she said, "What do you want to go back to ISKCON for? They're off on their Jiva Tattva. They're off on their Guru Tattva. How many more tattvas do you want them to be off on?" And I was flabbergasted. I didn't know how to answer. Anyway, please continue.
Also,
Well, we don't think that any sanghas use
Perfect.
this or the way. We're not rejecting. We're not rejecting or accepting.
My feeling is that my understanding is that your Siddha Swarup is revealed by Krishna to you.
actually, it's a spiritual master.
Or
The
the
spiritual
spiritual
master.
master. And
Yeah.
and I think any other way, for this idea that someone decides that, you know what,
I have
want
an
to be a
attraction.
it is perverse as far as I'm concerned. It leads to perversity. It leads to, it leads to a practice of Krishna consciousness, which is almost cultish. And I could, I've seen that. And as someone I'm not saying I'm advanced or anything, but seeing it from a distance, it's very weird, very weird to see people thinking and practice. It becomes almost like that Gopi Baba thing that Prabhupada was so against, that he spoke so strongly against, that devotees who think that I'm going to enter into this consciousness of a Gopi and now I'm just going to practice on that basis. It's perverse. And I think we have to be careful thinking that somehow it's up to us to decide, which way we're going to go.
No, it's not up to us, but it's mentioned that there'll be a moment of attaining a high level of Krishna consciousness. Then there'll be likes, and of course, it's not impersonal, and so there'll be we need to. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita too. As we attain perfection, there'll be 4 rasas. They are predominant, or they're the most important ones, that the ones that actually Lord Chaitanya gives. These 4 rasas. So Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. And so there'll be natural inclinations. It doesn't mean that we should speculate. Then we become sahaja, like
Right.
There's people putting saris on, and,
Right.
and they said, I'm a gopi and parada, but it's all speculated.
But people can be confused because in the Jiva Dharma, it tells how one feels inclined this way and the other one feels inclined towards Sakya Ras with the cowherd boys, the other with Krishna and the gopis. But the person may feel that way, but in the Jiva Dharma, the guru confirms you are feeling that way because that's a reality. But there's also big controversy on this, because Jiva Goswami at one point says that there's no bhakti and that it's given by the guru. There are all these. So in this, Krishna reconciles everything, but if there are so many contradictions, but in the spiritual world, Krishna harmonizes everything. So the point is people can get confused because you can read, this person in Jiva Dharma, he felt like he was a cowherd boy. And so then he was told, oh, yes, you are a cowherd boy. But who told him? His spiritual master. So it's not that someone read the books and chanted a lot and then they decided,
It wasn't whimsical. It's not whimsical.
Yes.
So when we said what Prabhupada mentions Krishna, or if you go to the Ekanda Guru Tattva, the guru is one. Who is the guru? The initial guru is Nityananda Prabhu Baladev. But as we progress in the literature of the 6 Goswamis, you'll find that the disciple, as it progresses, will see his spiritual master as Nityananda, and later on, very, very high, he'll see him as actually manifestation of Radhe. And so that's what we have the definition of Bhava Bhakti. Who's given it is actually Radhini Shakti. It comes from her protection, her nourishing. She nourishes our devotional service. And so the verse Shashat Hari Tana Samastra, there is no, sama means equal or the same. And so there it is. Krishna, this Balaram, the principles is Godhead servitor. And so there is a difference, and at the same time not. So that's all. That is achintya. It's inconceivable. And so in morning walks, I've been with different great devotee that he was laughing at the devotees discussing about the jiva and what is it that when did we come, at what moment. It's all trying to use material examples, and that's also in Java Dharma. If something is given, is like the sun and the sparks of sun, or the sun and its energy, the heat and the light that comes all at once and is inseparable. Still, those examples fall short. So,
I just wanted.
Devotee, go ahead. Devotee who's there is laughable.
I just wanted to say as well that as reading through the Caitanya Charitamrita, I haven't come across one instance, not one, and I'm not saying I've read it, maybe I'm missing something, where any of the devotees, Lord Chaitanya's devotees, any of the devotees involved in Caitanya Charitamrita or Krishna Kaviraj Goswami have discussed or have shown or have any pastime of Lord Chaitanya revealing their Siddha Swarup of these devotees. I mean, these devotees engage in the Sankirtan movement. It's like the beginning of the Hare Krishna movement in many respects. But never have I come across a discussion or a pastime where someone's Swarup in Goloka is discussed or revealed, or it becomes a topic of an interaction between them. I haven't come across that at all.
Well, when the Kirtan, the son of Srivas dies, and Lord Chaitanya brings him back.
Yeah.
They say, where'd you go? Why would he leave the spiritual world? I mean, that's Krishna, isn't it, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? But what is the whole entire pastime pointed at? Is pointing towards Radha, to Goloka Vrindavan, to go serve the divine couple. And so the son of Srivas says, I'm now engaged, I'm very happy. He doesn't say particularly, like you say, you're right. There's no discussion of the Swarup, but there's a discussion that he goes somewhere. And to go to that place, you have to have a particular body.
Yes, no, that's understood. Yeah. But that's our philosophy. We understand that. But it does. It's not a point where there is much time spent in discussing either by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami or Lord Chaitanya. They don't really, it's not something that is a focus.
Although you would have to say that the mood of I think isn't it Raghunath who's with Lord Chaitanya at the Gundicha, that it's understood, I suppose, that there is this very special mood between these intimate.
Of course.
It's not sort of spelled out in bold letters, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not like, for example, we don't hear that, that Swarup Damodar is such and such, or that Rupa Goswami is such and such. It's not discussed by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Like, it's not brought up.
Yeah, in general too, that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. He didn't like them to call him as such.
Covered his ears and go away. And say
And-
Vishnu,
and-
Vishnu.
Right. And so why would he bring, oh, you're such and such in Krishna Leela? That's not what's happening. So that would be like a Rasavas kind of a thing. And at the same time,
Right.
the most intimate disciples were Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, and they were with him
Yeah.
constantly. And Swarup Damodar would sing and chant things that from Srimad Bhagavatam, but that actually they're memories. And Gadadhar Pandit, he would guide every day. Lord Chaitanya would go to the temple of Gopinath, and in the garden, Gadadhar would instruct or would chant Bhagavatam to Lord Chaitanya, and Gadadhar is Radharani. So Krishna came to play. He came to taste those that ras, those feelings and emotions that Radharani feels. So he takes that role. He takes her heart, but still he needs the guidance. Higher Vaishnavas have explained this, that Radha is there to guide him. And no, maybe you should, there is a particular verse where Radharani expresses kind of separation, because now Krishna is leaving with all the gopis are lamenting that they're all leaving to the forest to tend the cows. And so Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks the verse, but Gadadhar behind the curtains is listening to this, and then he kind of corrects him. So yeah, nay, it's like, it's the past. I was just hearing this Chaitanya Charitamrita yesterday, and Kaviraj Goswami says the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are very complicated.
It's as if they're veiled. Sorry for interrupting. It's as if they're kind of slightly clandestine or veiled.
Yes.
Whereas, if you're reading Govinda Lilamrita or something, no, it's all totally open.
Right.
But that's still the nature of this work by Krishnadas Kaviraj.
And
yeah, that's
also-
his second. That's his next book. But then we have the book is Gaura Ganodesh Deepika, where it's all explained who's who, and it's written by one of his associates, Lord Chaitanya's associates. So again, I think it's a matter of what is being played, and what's the pastime that Krishna is enjoying, and he wants to be the devotee, the highest devotee. There's no one higher than Radharani.
Also, if I can just add something to Jivan Mukta, that within the purports, although Prabhupada doesn't, like you're saying, go into a lot of the direct, intimate explanations, he does pepper all his purports with references to Ujjvala Nilamani or, these different works. Because I remember when I was reading the CC last year, I would sort of make a note of every time he actually referenced a Rasika Grant, because, I had this big desire to actually read the works of, the Guru Varga, and the Goswamis. So, it's like we were saying earlier tonight in our discussions, Prabhupada had this very kind of cautious, if you will, I can't think of a better word, but a very, careful, kind of cautious way of putting things, That was what's so extraordinary about this book that we're reading together from 1959, Search for the Real Soul, where Prabhupada is, the last time we were reading, he normally is not writing like that. That was like reading Raghunath Goswami or something. I've rarely heard Srila Prabhupada, right in the depths of those ecstatic details of Radharani and everything else. That was just extraordinary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, very nice. And then I was just thinking the mood. He's actually taking at times in that divine madness, because he said he manifested more prominently towards the end of his lila, and he's at times, his Kaviraj Goswami says, at times he thinks he is Radha. Now I know this is Radha Krishna combined, so it's not something that we can grasp. Well, there is, there's, we can understand it intellectually that he can talk to you later. We're just about to finish.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
go downstairs. Our grandson, watermelon 10%. And like you mentioned, the Govinda Lilamrita. It's Govinda Lilamrita. Now there's two separate books, and Kaviraj doesn't mix them, like that. And so there's all these angles to consider.
There's two Govinda Lilamritas?
No,
there's one.
he's saying the Gora Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then Govinda Leela, if you will.
Okay, I see. Okay.
So there is no, Prabhu's Jivan Mukta, I think you were mentioning that, there is not a chance, there's no way, never is mentioned. It's like, it's hardly mentioned that Chaitanya is God. He didn't like to be.
No, I didn't say
no,
that.
No. What you were saying is that there is no mention of anybody's being, you're a coward boy, or, like Srivas. Who is Srivas? He's Narada Muni. And look at Narada Muni, all the different roles that he plays. He's Narada Rishi in the heavenly planets. He's Madhu Mangal in Goloka. And he's Srivas Acharya, married with a family in the Chaitanya Leela. And so, and then, but we see some, if we start reading all that, start to get into the literature, then we can understand. There's like a undercurrent. We can, we can see, we can understand a little bit of what these characters are, where they're coming from, who they are. But you're right, there is no mention. Why? Because that's the pastime. It's like that. It's a pastime where Krishna appears as Radha Krishna Kumabi. Never said openly, I'm Radha Krishna, hello, and you're Lalita and you're Vishaka. That's not mentioned. You're right.
So Prabhu, what I'm saying, what I feel, or what I'm saying is that likewise, since the devotees, since in Chaitanya Leela, we do not have this kind of not obsession, but this idea of trying to understand who we are, and in Krishna Leela, as followers of that process of the Sankirtan movement that Lord Chaitanya established, I don't think that it's something that we should also be obsessing about, like when it, because it's very easy, like for devotees, just like the Gopi Baba devotees. I mean, they were sincere. My feeling is that it's not that these weren't sincere devotees, but they became bewildered, and they became misled into thinking that somehow the Bhagavad-Gita wasn't important. Who was it that I was? It was Sureshwar Prabhu. I was listening to a interview where he was there when it was happening, and the devotees were thinking, Bhagavad-Gita, I've kind of done with that now. I just read the Chaitanya Charitamrita because I'm on a higher level now. I want to practice devotional service on the level of the gopis.
Right. So they don't want to hear any. Yeah, they want to hear any other literature except anything that had to do, with the gopis. Like that. So that was a distortion.
But Prabhupada absolutely stomped on them because it was such early days. They were completely neophyte. They didn't really know what they were talking about. So he wanted to stamp on it immediately.
But now it's 45 years later, and we're supposed to all be very mature and growing up.
No, but it's not that.
For the higher rasas.
No, but I was giving you the example of someone like Bhanu Maharaj, who has translated all these works, like Kushakrat, like Gopi Pranadana, like these people are very, very, very solid people in sadhana, Vaidhi Bhakti, but actually, acquiring knowledge. Our god brother Indradyumna Swami along the same lines, with great knowledge of, extensive knowledge of the works of, the Goswamis, etc., etc. So I don't think we're exempt from that, but I understand your mood, Jifan Muktra, of what you're trying to say. It's like, don't get ahead of yourself, don't get ahead of your not having the adhikari, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like Prabhupada said, don't jump.
Don't jump over.
Go straight to the 10th canto. But I read in the Harmonist, which is the magazine that published Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Prabhupada's articles, and now Srila Maharaj revived it. And where there is a very important article, actually, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he's quoted in some movies, and in one movie in particular done by Sannyasi, now passed away, and then he's the devotee that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati never touched the topics of 10th canto, that it was absolutely forbidden, and that so that for some group of devotees to say that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wasn't in Madhurya Ras, it was a big nonsense. So no, and in this article, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he says there's a real necessity of a true bona fide condensation of the verse of the 10th canto, what's happening in it, by a pure devotee, or in other words, that this has to be discussed, it has to be feared, but through the bona fide source.
right.
Otherwise it will spoil everything for us, and we'd start thinking that this divine couple are just ordinary boy and girls, and it'll ruin it for us. And so Prabhupada, what did Prabhupada do? Did that exactly. He comes out with Krishna book early on. And what is Krishna book about? But 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. And so and then the discussions, some devotees say, oh, now we're in this sangha, now we only discuss Raganuga Bhakti. But actually we're not Raganugas, we are Rupanugas, because our spiritual masters are Rupanugas. They follow in Rupa Goswami. Who is Rupa Goswami? Is it Rupa Manjari. And by following them, the Goswamis, we gradually go towards the whole Caitanya Leela is pointing towards Radha Krishna Leela. And so there is connection between them, naturally. And then the rules and regulations are always followed. Even it says, when even pure devotees, they will do Ekadashi, they will do the Mongol Arti, they will do all the rules naturally, but the intention is a little different. There was a book published maybe in the 80s, I think, or late 70s about Ekadashi, and there was from a Karma Kandi section of Shastra. And so if you do this Ekadashi, you attain Vaikuntha, and all this, and at the end it shows the liberation, etc., etc. All these rewards are, in a way, it's like you're going to heaven. Whereas the Raganuga, the Rupanuga Bhaktas, they follow Ekadashi in a very different manner. It's just to enhance their love. It will develop in a very different way. So it's not to attain a goal of liberation, no more. But I know Narayana Maharaj is that a name that some of you just don't want to hear, but he was very, very strict on devotees, and he said if devotees would start talking about pastimes, he then would bring, like you said, Raghunath Das, he speaks so high, he has books that are like really, really high, but he also gives us mana shiksha. Mana shiksha is like
Yeah.
nectar of instruction by Rupa Goswami, that like always bring us down to, oh, we can check, see where we're at too. And it's all about some following the rules, continue to follow them. It's just that we follow the footsteps rather than just an empty rule. So some people lose sight. So then there's a verse by Rupa Goswami says, unnecessarily following these rules and regulations just for the sake of them, it'll be an impediment on pure bhakti.
Niyamagraha.
Yeah. So there's all those pitfalls and like that. And like, what would you think? Going back to Bhagavad-Gita, where Krishna says, "To those who follow in love and devotion, I'll give them the understanding by which they can come to me."
Mm-hmm.
If they're already there following Krishna in love and devotion, what is the understand to come to where? It's actually Krishna saying, "You can come to me, Krishna, the Braja Krishna." So there's all these levels there too in Gita. We begin in karma, and then in the middle is bhakti, and then at the end is jnana bhakti.
I guess just to add something here, when we were reading earlier tonight, where we started off, where it was Srila Prabhupada talking about, in the Gita, there he is with all these different warriors on both sides, and everyone's related to Krishna. So ultimately, it's a Krishna Lila. And then he was saying, that the Bhagavad-Gita was as significant as, the rasa dance, so Krishna in his most intimate thing, and that we shouldn't, gravitate towards this rasa lila and discard Bhagavad-Gita. And then I was thinking, as we were reading along, how before too long, after we have got past the sort of general setting of the warriors and everything, and then the discussion between Krishna and Arjuna really starts, how, of course, this incredible conversation all about karma yoga and jnana yoga and sankhya yoga, and all these things are elucidated upon. We were all sharing earlier how, our Judeo-Christian background didn't give us the details that we were looking for. And this is so much of a mood of Srila Prabhupada, which even allowed us to, with very little understanding, go out and preach the ABCs of kind of karma yoga and attract people, from the very fundamentals of the Bhagavad-Gita. And that really was such an overriding mood of Bhaktivedanta, that he was so, carrying that mood of giving it to other people. I just want to add that.
Remember,
to get that off my chest.
All right. Thank you. And yes, he did give us everything, and the whole sequence, like you were saying, you were remembering Brihad Bhagavatamrita and its whole gradation. It's also that gradation is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Starting, and all the levels up to that Aishwarya, which is the mood of seeing God and His opulence and majesty. There is still fear in it, but the principal thing that is in it, the common thread, is prem. So I remember being at the zoo distributing magazines, and the devotees would say, "Please come and get. We're distributing love of Godhead. We're distributing love of Godhead." And it's true, it's love of Godhead. It's not that we say, "No, now we're revealing to you the highest topic of, the rasa dance." No. That's Madhurya Ras, but there's other rasas there. They're as relishable. And for that devotee that attains it, there's nothing higher, there's nothing better than that. Nevertheless, Kaviraj makes a distinction. And the Adi Lila about gradations. So what these rasas are, Madhurya Ras. And so there's no...
I think of our godbrother Vaishashika, in Silicon Valley, who takes such pains to train all these children and youth and his Indian congregation in all the foundational literatures. They all chant, the Upanishad together, and Gita and, all the kind of shastric elements of the Bhagavatam, and have this wonderful kind of firm foundation philosophically that they are then readily able to, give to others. That seems to be, how it works.
It's just that we see it all in a linear way, whereas as we progress, never those literatures, that shastra is never abandoned. So as you were saying before, when we read Bhagavad-Gita and then you're starting, so you can say, well, that's the ABC. And Prabhupada even mentioned that Bhagavad-Gita is kind of the ABC. But as devotee comes, first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada speaks about hearing from a Rashik, Babuk devotee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who emanates actually prem. And so that's the devotee that we're seeking to hear. That's the one that Lord Chaitanya asked Raghunath Bhatta, said, do two things. Don't get married, and then listen every day to Srimad Bhagavatam from a pure devotee of the Lord, a Rashik devotee. Realize one who has realized God. Yeah. So then that devotee that attains that level, when he reads that literature, for somebody says, oh, that's the ABC. For him, no, it's the Lord is the manifesting. They could see very deep, even deeper.
And the Bhagavad-Gita is actually Krishna speaking. So, of course, Krishna's more pleased when the devotees speak, but this is the only book we have where Krishna is actually speaking. So we're all trying to attain Krishna, and there he is. And every verse can have deeper and deeper meanings. And prem is in every verse. That's why he's saying, you should know all the names of all the adversaries because they're sambandha with Krishna.
Well, it's like go ahead.
Actually, the 11th canto, Krishna, the Udava Gita is incredible as well, and that's Lord Krishna directly speaking as well. That's just an amazing, exchange between Lord Krishna and Udava. Just beautiful.
Wow.
Yes, but remember what does Krishna do? He sends Udava to Vrindavan to learn the highest. Yeah. And he fails, actually. He's going to tell Nanda Baba, but no, your son, because he's a Jnani yogi, he's a Jnani Bhakti. And so he sees as a supreme personality of Godhead. He's Dwarkadish for him. So there is that level.
But the interesting thing, Prabhu, is that even though that's the foundation of the exchange, of the discussion, how the discussion originated, Lord Krishna still goes through all the basics. He goes through karma yoga, jnana yoga, he goes through, the varnashram system. There's, his discussing pure devotional service. But he goes through the whole thing again, like he did in Bhagavad-Gita.
Yes. And it says that. Udava. Yeah, and the Udava.
Right.
Yes.
Udava says, I want to be a blade of grass, right?
Exactly.
Right.
I want to be trampled or the dust of the feet of the gopis to follow me. Lord Brahma says, I want to be that stone where the gopas and gopis, they clean their feet after tending the cows.
Yeah.
And so he manifests himself. We have a hill in Varshana that is Lord Brahma, and like that.
One of the songs I wrote from Krishna book is Udava's song. And so
it's called
yeah.
How does it go?
Among all living entities, the gopis super excellently fulfill life's goal.
And it goes on. So it's from Prabhupada used the. You can remember.
No, I can't remember it right now. But anyway, but when they hear, so Udava wants to fall at their feet and take the dust from their feet upon his head. But feeling they will not agree, he desires to take birth as a blade of grass or a creeper in Vraja land instead, so that when the gopis hear Krishna's flute, they run with haste to the place where Krishna stands, inadvertently smear the dust from their lotus feet on the creepers and grass in Vraja's land. They don't practice yoga, they just think of him. Always lovingly, they don't take birth again. The gopis don't practice yoga, they just think of him. But if you follow them, by the dust of their feet, can attain Krishna praise.
You sing that one? Do you sing that one in the yoga studios?
I was just going to say that. That's the counter narrative to the Bhogi Yogis.
Right. Yeah. I actually we had chances to play it in like the Bhakti Fest or like that.
What were they were all doing yoga?
Yeah, I get a kick from that one.
Everyone, no one dislikes it. All the Bhakti yogis love it. They do.
The words Prabhupada come out with.
Yeah, Prabhupada says that among all living entities, the gopis super excellently fulfill life's goal. Thoughts on Krishna's lotus feet, though saints and sages find defeat, can't attain. Sorry. We haven't sung this.
Such an art to put these songs into English. It's really something to try and get it into a nutshell like that. Yeah.
Like Sudama, she got a chance to sing that one to Prabhupada.
Yeah, I started out writing songs for the puppet shows in Los Angeles. And they were introductions to each puppet show. And one night, Prabhupada was coming to the puppet show, and I sang the song to introduce it about Sudama. And Srila Prabhupada didn't show up, so I thought he wasn't there. But actually,
I know all of them.
Do you remember any bars from it?
Oh, sure. It's
we played this song with Musman, who was playing for Body Count, a very famous group in the 70s.
There was a Brahmin and his wife. His name's Sudama Vipra. They lived a pure and simple life. He was a friend of Krishna, wearing rags and from hunger weak. His wife came and humbly she did speak. You are a dear friend of the Lord. You should go see him soon. Perhaps he will remember you by granting some small boon. Sudam cared not for worldly gain, but he took this chance to go see Krishna again. When offered to Krishna this most humble gift, the Lord will accept it when offered with love.
What would we learn about Sudama that he did something too?
Oh, when Sudama was in Gurukula at Sandipani's with Krishna, and they went out to get firewood, Sandipani Muni gave them some chipped rice to eat while they were out. And Krishna had Sudama carry the chipped rice. And then the storm came and they got separated. And Sudama ate all of the rice.
That's why he had to suffer not having.
And so when Krishna found him again, he said, I'm very hungry. And he goes, I'm sorry, I ate all the rice. So that's why he became so poor.
That's what he brought as an offering.
Is that in the Krishna book?
No, it's not. It's
no.
Not.
I've heard that.
In the Goswamis.
Okay. So the reason I had you sing it, because I wanted to know what Prabhupada heard. So Prabhupada heard you sing that. Prabhupada heard you sing that. And you didn't know that Prabhupada was listening.
No. Right. So
it was
Los Angeles Temple. So I would have been so nervous if I'd known. So I sang the whole song. It tells how when the Lord saw he'd come, he embraced him with both arms, though he never embraced anyone but his queen and Balaram. Smiling, he said, "What did you bring?" Sudam had only chipped rice. "How can I offer such a thing?" Krishna said, "It is so nice. Something of grace will satisfy all living entities." Actually, I have it right here.
It's so cute. It's done in the style of a kind of ballad.
Yes, she's there.
I'm waiting for the punchline. I'm waiting for the punchline when Prabhupada.
Yeah, but it was funny, you know, they would put her in the stage. "Oh, you're writing songs for children." 'Cause she was writing for the puppet show, but it's like Walt Disney when he came with the length feature of Snow White. The Snow White actually was watched by mature audience and children, and there's scary parts, there's very emotional, there's nothing hold back, and everybody said, "No, you can't do it. A length feature on cartoons, you give me a break." And so in these songs, because they are taken from Prabhupada's books, they could be listened by everybody and anybody, from children to adults. So it's kind of funny that in the Ratha Yatras, they would put us in the children's stage. And then it was funny because we ended up being the only stage that made it to the TV back when there was TV. They filmed us and put us on the news.
Cool.
I used to listen to your tapes all through the 80s.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah.
My first son was raised on your tapes.
Yeah, I met when I went in '89.
I met your son in recently in Vrindavan.
You did meet him in Vrindavan, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, and I met parents from England actually. That we were in '89, and they said, "Oh my, you're married to a Bachini? Oh my God!" And ask him what's his favorite song. And Divida Gorilla, that was this 4-year-old favorite song.
That's your heavy metal tune.
Yes. So that's an album that
Okay, so keep holding us up in suspense. What did Prabhupada say when he heard you sing?
Okay, so Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, and the temple room was where the museum is. So this was the old church sanctuary with the pews, and they had a Vyasa-san for Prabhupada in between the two pews, and he never came out.
As you look to the stage, the steps towards Prabhupada's quarters were on the right.
So when Prabhupada heard the music start, he came all the way down the steps from his quarters, and he came into the place right before you walk into the chapel or whatever it's called. And he stood there behind the curtain. No one knew he was there, but Nanda Kumar was with him. And he listened to the entire song. And then when I finished, he turned to Nanda Kumar and said, "Very nice." And then he went back up to his room.
Chai.
He's a very lucky girl.
Yeah. So anyway, here is the song. We don't have our guitars downstairs, but it's, "There was a Brahmin and his wife, his name Sudama Vipra. They lived a pure and simple life. He was a friend of Krishna's, wearing rags and from hunger weak. His wife came and humbly did speak." I didn't do the chorus. "You are a dear friend of the Lord's. You should go see him soon. Perhaps he will remember you by granting some small boon." Sudam cared not for worldly gain, but he took his chance to see Krishna again. When the Lord saw he had come, he embraced him with both arms, though he never embraced anyone but his queen and Balaram. Smiling, he asked, "What did you bring?" Sudam had only chipped rice. "How can I offer such a thing?" Krishna said, "It is so nice, offered with love and devotion to me. A few grains can satisfy all entities. Offered with love and devotion to me, a few grains can satisfy all into tears. Remembering back into the past, that's your part, Krishna and Sudama.
Now you changed the key.
Oh, okay.
Remembering back into the past, Krishna and Sudama.
We're
searching into the forest for firewood for their spiritual master. There was a devastating storm. They were lost when the sun went down. Holding hands, distressed and worn, until their master they were found. He blessed them for their faithfulness, with perfect knowledge of the Vedas in this life and the next. After some time back home went he, but as he traveled, he did recall Krishna Kanti changed the words. Krishna practically worshipped me, but he knew wealth would make me fall. When he came to where his cottage had been, Sudama saw to his astonishment a dazzling palace from his dearmost friend. It's Krishna Kanti. Yeah, it's changed. So the lyrics were changed by either the publisher.
No, it was Krishna Kanti.
Okay, because when we sang it, there's an album we did together. It's called Jaya.
Yeah.
And that the bass player.
So this Brahmin and his wife. So I'm looking at Krishna Kanti's words again. So this Brahmin and his wife, who were given wealth and riches, they lived a perfect, simple life. They gave it all to Krishna. Perfect your life, do the same. Serve the Lord, chant his holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Did Urmila include any of this in her curriculum, in her educational literature for children, Padma Academy, any of that?
I don't know. She never asked. She never asked me, but that since it was published by ISKCON, then she wouldn't have to ask me. So
if what? Sorry, if what?
They published the albums and the books were published by the BBT. So they didn't have, no one had to get permission to use them if they were in ISKCON. So if people used them, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go, Prabhuji's.
Me too. It's way past.
I have wonderful Janmashtami.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Wishing for everyone.
And Prabhupada's 125th anniversary.
Wow.
I'll probably be with Sanatani. Do you know Sanatani?
Yes, very well.
Send our regards and obeisances to her.
I will. I like washing pots for her.
Nice. Just remember that prem is very close to humbleness. So.
Well, I love pot washing. It's absolutely up my street. Yeah.
Isn't it? It's wonderful.
It takes about 3 hours on a feast day, that's for sure. Yeah, but it's wonderful. Chaito Darpanam.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, all best. Hari Hari.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.
All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Ki jai. Hare Krishna.